The box arrived at 10 in the morning, carried by a uniformed servant whose dark blue coat and silver trim marked him as belonging to the Duke of Winston. Snow clung to his boots as he stepped into the front hall, the cold December air following him inside. The velvet case he carried was no larger than a prayer book, yet it seemed to weigh more than it should have. When he placed it on the hall table, the sound was soft but final, like a door closing on a life already decided. Elizabeth Shaw heard her mother's breath catch. It was a sharp sound, half gasp, half prayer. "Elizabeth," her mother whispered, her hands hovering over the box without touching it. "Do you see the seal?" Elizabeth stood in the doorway of the sitting room, a teacup paused halfway to her lips. She saw it clearly. Black wax stamped with the Winston crest, stars circling a coronet. In New York society, everyone knew that mark. It meant power that bent laws. It meant money without end. It meant the Duke himself had chosen to notice you. Her mother lifted the lid with trembling fingers. The diamonds flared to life, cold and brilliant, catching the weak winter light like stars scattered across midnight. The Winston star. Legendary, priceless. Passed down for generations. Not a gift, a declaration. "Oh my," her mother breathed. "Elizabeth, do you understand what this means?" Elizabeth set her teacup down carefully. "It means," she said quietly, "that the Duke mistakes me for someone else." The silence that followed felt heavy and dangerous. "I beg your pardon?" Her mother's voice had gone thin. "The necklace is beautiful," Elizabeth said, stepping into the room. "It is also a contract I never agreed to." Her father appeared in the doorway, his newspaper folded beneath his arm. His expression was calm, but she knew him well enough to see the concern beneath it. Perhaps we should hear her reasoning. What reasoning could justify refusing the most powerful man in the country? Her mother demanded. Elizabeth studied the necklace the way one might study an impressive building. The craftsmanship was flawless. Each diamond cut to multiply light, to dazzle, to command attention. It was also a chain, however finely made. "He has never spoken to me," Elizabeth said. "Not once. Not at a single dinner, reception, or charity ball. And yet he sends this." She gestured to the necklace. "I am meant to accept it as affection." "It is an honor," her mother insisted. Exactly. Elizabeth turned to face her. "A public signal. An announcement, not a conversation." Her mother's face went pale. "This is how such things are done at that level. His position requires nothing of me." Elizabeth crossed to her father's desk and pulled out a sheet of cream-colored paper. Her hand was steady as she dipped the pen in ink. "I will not be bought," she said. "Not with diamonds, not with titles." Her father spoke gently. "Elizabeth, refusing a man like the Duke carries consequences." "I know," she said, writing swiftly, "and I accept them." Her mother sank into a chair. "No other gentleman will dare approach you." "Good," Elizabeth replied. "Then I may live in peace." She folded the note, sealed it with plain red wax, and placed it atop the necklace. Then she closed the lid. The servant was still waiting in the hall. "Please return this to His Grace," Elizabeth said, handing him the box, "with my regrets." The man's eyes widened for just a moment before he bowed. "Yes, miss." When the door closed behind him, her mother's voice broke. "What have you done?" "I told a powerful man that I am not for sale." Elizabeth went upstairs without another word, her steps calm and certain. Through her window, the city stretched gray and endless. Somewhere uptown, the Duke of Winston would soon open a box that had never been returned before. Roderick Winston noticed the velvet case the moment it entered his study. It was wrong. It should not have been there. He set down his pen slowly. "Explain." The servant swallowed. "Miss Shaw returned it, sir, with her compliments and regrets." Returned. Roderick stared at the box, his mind refusing to accept the meaning. He dismissed the servant and opened it himself. The note was brief, polite. Impeccably written. He read it once. Then again. Fury rose cold and sharp in his chest. Not loud anger. Controlled. Dangerous. No woman had ever refused the Winston star. He stood and went to the window, the city gleaming below. The refusal was not private. Servants would talk. Society would whisper. And then he saw the line that struck hardest. A lady with whom you have never exchanged a single word. He crushed the paper in his hand. If Miss Elizabeth Shaw wanted conversation, she would have it. He rang for his secretary. Prepare the carriage. Tomorrow morning. Early. The Duke's carriage arrived in her neighborhood at precisely 8. Neighbors watched from behind curtains as the dark horses stamped and snorted in the cold. The Winston crest gleamed like a challenge. Roderick did not wait for ceremony. He stepped down and strode toward the door. Elizabeth Shaw answered it herself. Her eyes met his without fear. "Your Grace," she said calmly. "Is it?" he replied. And for the first time in his life, the Duke of Winston stood before a woman who had told him no. Elizabeth Shaw did not step aside when the Duke of Winston entered her home. She did not retreat. She simply closed the door behind him and waited. Roderick Winston stood in the modest parlor, tall and imposing, his dark coat still dusted with snow. The room was warm but plain. Comfortable chairs. Shelves filled with well-used books. No attempt at grandeur. He took it in with quick, assessing glances. "You returned the Winston star," he said. His voice was low, controlled, edged with restrained fury. "Yes," Elizabeth replied. "I did. You did so publicly." "I did nothing in secret," she said evenly. "Nor did you." His jaw tightened. "Do you have any idea what you refused?" "I refused a decision made without me." Roderick stepped closer, clearly unused to resistance. "That necklace has been worn by every Duchess of Winston for nearly a century. It was not sent lightly." "Then it should not have been sent silently," Elizabeth said. "You have never spoken to me, Your Grace." "Not once." Silence pressed in around them. "I observed you," he said finally. "Your conduct, your reputation, your family." "You evaluated me," she corrected. "Like property." That struck deeper than he expected. "You insult me," Roderick said. "No," Elizabeth replied. "I disappoint you." "There is a difference." Her calm unsettled him more than anger would have. He had arrived prepared to intimidate, to demand explanation, perhaps even to threaten consequences. Instead, he found himself standing before a woman who looked at him as though he were merely a man, not an institution. "You believe I owed you courtship?" he said coldly. "I believe," Elizabeth answered, "that if you wish to marry a woman, you should know her voice before you send her your family jewels." Roderick exhaled sharply. "Marriage is not a love affair. It is duty." "And I am not a duty," she said. "I am a person." Her words echoed in the room, louder than any raised voice. "You would throw away security, power, influence," he said, "for a principle." "I would rather live honestly than comfortably," Elizabeth replied. Roderick studied her face. Gray eyes steady, spine straight. No trembling, no regret. "You are either very brave," he said slowly, "or very foolish." "Possibly both," she said, "but I am certain." For the first time, something shifted inside him, not anger, curiosity. "If I wished to prove you wrong," he said, "would you allow me the chance?" Elizabeth frowned. "Prove me wrong how?" "Come to Winston Manor," he said, "for 1 week. As my guest, not as my intended, not as a display." She laughed softly. "You are asking me to trust you. I am asking you to judge me," Roderick said. After conversation, not assumption. Elizabeth hesitated. Every instinct warned her of danger. Yet something in his tone was different now. Less command, more challenge. 1 week, she said at last, "with my mother present." And no promises beyond honesty. Roderick nodded. Agreed. Winston Manor rose from the countryside like a monument to inherited power. Elizabeth felt it press upon her the moment the carriage wheels touched the long gravel drive. Stone walls, tall towers. Windows that had watched generations come and go. Her mother gasped softly beside her. "Elizabeth, this is far beyond us." "We were invited," Elizabeth said, though her heart beat faster. They were greeted with perfect courtesy by the household staff and shown to rooms that felt more like suites. That evening, Elizabeth met the Dowager Duchess, Roderick's aunt, a sharp-eyed woman who missed nothing and said little. Roderick appeared before dinner, dressed less formally than in the city. Without the stiffness of ceremony, he looked younger. "More human. I hope you are comfortable," he said. "I am observant," Elizabeth replied. A flicker of amusement crossed his face. Later that evening, he invited her to the library. It was not a showpiece room, but a working one. Shelves of books worn with use. Papers spread across a large table. "These are the tenant agreements," Roderick said. "I want your opinion." Elizabeth read silently, her brow furrowing. "These terms are cruel," she said finally. "Families could be removed with 30 days' notice." "Yes," Roderick said quietly. "And that troubles me." She looked at him sharply. "Most men in your position would not care." "I do," he said. "And I am told that caring is weakness." "It is not," Elizabeth said. "It is responsibility." They talked for hours. About land, about labor, about fairness. For the first time, Elizabeth forgot who he was supposed to be. And Roderick forgot who he had been trained to be. The next days brought guests. Among them was Vivian Northcliffe. Elizabeth recognized her instantly. Beautiful, polished, confident, and watching Roderick with open intention. Vivian's smile toward Elizabeth was polite and sharp. "I had no idea you were so well acquainted with His Grace."
"I am here as a guest," Elizabeth replied.
"Of course," Vivian said lightly. "How unusual." At dinner, Elizabeth found herself placed far from Roderick. Vivian held court beside him, her laughter carrying across the table. "So tell us, Miss Shaw," Vivian said brightly. "What qualifies you to advise on estate matters?" Elizabeth met her gaze. "Honesty." A murmur ran through the table. Roderick's eyes found hers. There was something new there. "Respect." After dinner, he sought Elizabeth out. "You handled that well," he said. "She wanted me small," Elizabeth replied. "I am not." "No," he said quietly. "You are not." On the third afternoon, Roderick took Elizabeth to the gardens. Once beautiful, now neglected. "My mother loved this place," he said. "After she died, no one had the heart to restore it." Elizabeth touched the cold stone bench. "Why tell me this?" "Because," Roderick said, "she was married for duty, not choice." Understanding dawned. "The necklace," Elizabeth said softly. "Yes," he replied. "It was sent to her too." They sat in silence. "You were angry when I returned it," she said. "I was," he admitted. "But I was also relieved." She turned to him. "You did what she never could," Roderick said. "You chose freedom." Emotion tightened Elizabeth's chest. "You are not your father," she said. "I am trying not to be," he replied. Their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. That night, rumors began. Elizabeth heard them first from a maid. Whispers. Suggestions. Her presence questioned. By morning, she knew what must be done. She began to pack. Roderick arrived before dawn, fury and fear written across his face. "You are leaving," he said. "Yes. I can stop this," he insisted. "I can protect you." She turned to face him, pain bright in her eyes. "I will not be protected like a secret," Elizabeth said. "I will not become something whispered about." "What do you want from me?" he demanded. "I want you to choose," she said. "Not manage." Silence fell between them, heavy and final. "I need time," Roderick said. Elizabeth nodded. "Then you will not choose." She closed her trunk. "I leave at sunrise." Roderick stood frozen as she passed him, and for the first time in his life, power failed him completely. Elizabeth Shaw left Winston Manor at dawn. Snow fell softly as the carriage rolled away, the sound of the wheels fading into the white silence. She did not look back. If she did, she knew she would run back inside and beg a man who was still undecided to choose her. She had promised herself she would never beg. Roderick Winston stood at the window long after the carriage disappeared. The house felt hollow without her. Every room echoed with her absence. The library table still held papers they had marked together. The garden bench lay buried beneath fresh snow. For the first time, the Duke of Winston felt truly powerless. By evening, the rumors reached him in full force. Letters arrived. Whispers spread. Vivian Northcliffe's name appeared again and again, always followed by carefully innocent concern. His staff avoided his eyes. His aunt watched him with quiet patience. "You have a choice," the Dowager Duchess finally said. "And choices reveal character." Roderick did not sleep that night. He thought of his mother, of the Winston star, of a woman who had been traded for stability and silenced by duty. He thought of Elizabeth standing in her parlor, calm and unafraid, returning the most valuable thing he could offer because it was not the right thing. By morning, his decision was made. Elizabeth returned to her life in the city quietly. She refused invitations. She walked alone. She endured the looks and half-smiles of people who believed they knew her story. It hurt, but it did not break her. On Christmas morning, she dressed plainly and joined her parents at the breakfast table. The city was hushed beneath falling snow. A knock came at the door. Elizabeth rose slowly. She did not hope. She did not expect. When she opened it, Roderick Winston stood there without carriage, without crest, without display. Just a man in a dark coat, snow on his shoulders, eyes steady and bare. "I am late," he said, "but I am certain." Elizabeth did not step aside. "Speak," she said. "I choose you," Roderick said, publicly, fully, without conditions. Her breath caught. "I will endure the scandal," he continued. "I will face my peers. I will tear down traditions that demand silence and obedience. I will not ask you to be protected or hidden or softened. I ask you to stand beside me." He lowered himself to one knee on the cold stone step. "I do not offer jewels," he said. "I offer truth." Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. "You are choosing difficulty," she said. "I am choosing life," he replied. She reached for him, pulling him to his feet. "Yes," she said, "I choose you too." Their engagement shocked society. The Winston star was never worn again. Roderick placed it in a museum, stripped of power and meaning. Elizabeth became Duchess not through silence, but through presence. She spoke. She reformed. She was criticized and admired in equal measure. Roderick stood beside her always. Not above, not ahead. Years later, on a winter morning, Elizabeth sat in the restored gardens watching her children laugh. Roderick joined her, warm cider in hand. "You freed me," he said softly. Elizabeth smiled. "I only refused what was never mine to accept." They sat together in quiet certainty, not bound by jewels, but by choice.